All right, looks like you're good to go.
All right, David.
Yep.
So I'm gonna have Tim read off the agenda as we go through it, so we don't all have to have multiple screens up at the same time. All right, Tim, you're on.
All right, so first thing on the agenda tonight, or open session agenda, scheduling of the 2020 annual town election, and the date suggested by Lakeville is June 16th, 2020.
And is Jackie here?
She is. Yep.
Hello.
Hi, Jackie.
Hello, Jackie.
Hi. Hi.
So you're waiting for the Board of Selectmen to vote on having the election, town election postponed till what date? The 16th?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, or you're all set?
No, just after the board votes, whether they decide, if they decide to go forward with that date or any date, we just have to post that vote as the selectmen voted, along with a copy of the law on the warrants that are already out there.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to postpone or to hold the town election to June 16th.
Okay, Lisa, if I may, I have one question to ask Jackie. Jackie, if June 16th election does go off, are the same provisions that had been proposed as to mailing ballots and so forth, or is it all going to have to be a go to the polls situation? I know you could file for an absentee ballot and that type of thing, but you had other provisions. I was wondering if that's still the case.
When you say provisions, you mean for the election workers?
No, for the election. If I remember correctly, there was a way of mailing a ballot and then voter mailing back. That wasn't actually a absentee ballot.
Right, it was called, they're called early voter ballots. And like last week, I mailed out 41 of them. So until the election date, the voters of Freetown can still request those with that application, and those ballots will be mailed to their home, and they can still do that until the election day. Okay. Well, not right till the election day. It's the day before there's a cutoff. But right now, I'm still getting them in the mail. I'm getting absentees and early voter applications. They have to fill out the application, and then I mail the ballot.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
I did have some correspondence with Maureen and Candido in Lakeville. They're scheduled for their annual town meeting on June 22nd, just so you know that.
Yeah, I had some correspondence with the chair over there as well. So, I mean, I think that we should put that on for our next meeting to discuss the possibility of postponing. I think it's probably a really good idea since we may have more solid numbers from the state. So any further back in June is probably better than sooner. So
actually, on the managers board, most towns are looking at the end of June. So that's pretty common.
All right, so Tim, can you put that on for our next agenda, please?
Yep, actually I already had it on my list, so we're good to go.
Perfect. And I'll entertain a motion to, Charlie, you gonna abstain or no?
I am.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to hold the election on June 16th.
Second.
No, you make the motion. George, make the motion. I'll second it.
If I could second it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right.
Well,
All in
George,
favor?
if you make the motion, George.
Okay, make a motion to hold the annual town election on June 16th. Is that right?
I'll second that. Yes.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Poll the members. Mr. Grunwald,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan,
Abstain.
and Ms. Pacheco, yes. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
All right, be safe.
Take care,
Charlie,
Jack.
why did you have to abstain? I lost.
I feel I should.
because he's running.
Oh, okay, got it. All right.
Hey, Tim.
Before I go, I just have one question. Did you need me to discuss anything for when you get up to the, to take a vote on the late fees for the dogs?
That's next if you want to stay on the line.
Okay, I just didn't know if you had questions.
I don't.
I don't either.
Okay.
Nope.
What is it we're doing? Are we doing away with the late fee, or is that what this is?
So the animal control officer and Jackie have asked us to, or to ask the board to consider waiving the late fees right now, because there's no way for people to get their dogs rabies shots because the vets are closed and things like that. We usually hold our own, but that also had to be canceled or postponed. So they're asking, because the first late fees go out on June 1st. So they're asking that we waive those and possibly at another date further in the future, depending on where we are, to waive the July 1st $15 one. And Jackie, I just have a quick question. If we wanted to waive, or if we wanted to hold the July 1st one still, could we reduce it to just the $5 and not the 15?
Well, the bylaw states that the July 1st one is 15.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if just a vote could change that or not.
Okay.
But the first one is 5, and just to answer a question, George, the reason why I'm asking for the board to do this now, along with Lisa, is we're getting emails and we're getting phone calls from residents who are concerned that normally pay their bills on time and a little concerned that they can't get this rabies shot because they were going to do it at the rabies clinic and we had to cancel it. So they're very concerned, and it's just one thing less for them to worry about. So that's why we're asking the board to do it now instead of waiting until the June 1st date to put some of the voters' minds at ease.
Makes sense.
I have one question for my fellow board members. Would we want to restrict it to people who only are kind of arrears in their rabies certificate? In other words, if somebody doesn't register their dog on time just because they didn't, do we want to make that distinction?
Jackie, do you have any?
Yeah, can I add to that?
Yes.
I would say normally, under normal conditions, that might be a good idea, but under these conditions, no. And one of the reasons being is we're getting a ton of, we're still getting from the office of the vets, the rabies shots, say for the last 3 months or so. In order for the residents to pay the dog licenses online, those rabies shots have to be up to date. If they're not up to date, they can't register the dogs online. So what's happening is we haven't had a chance to update them because we haven't been in the office. They all have to be scanned, and then we have to contact Unibank with a list. So the rabies shots are not up to date for them to do the online payments. So part of it falls on us for not having that up to date for them to do it.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. You answered my questions. It's not worth.
Okay, you're welcome.
You're saying it's not worth the hassle, and that's okay. That's fine.
No.
Okay, I like I said, I put it out there. I thought I didn't know how the other board members felt, but now I feel like it's not worth it. So.
All right, I'll entertain a motion. You're gonna make that as a motion, Charlie?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the town clerk to waive late fees for the dog licenses for the first deadline.
Second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Sullivan,
Aye.
Mr. Grunwald,
Aye.
and myself, yes.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Jackie.
Take care.
All right, so next on the agenda, we have authorization of administrative assistant, myself, to sign documents on behalf of the Board of Selectmen. but I believe David found a solution for that today, so we might not need this, right, David? Yep, David, you muted yourself.
Give myself.
We're good to go. I got
There
you.
we go. We had a lot of discussion today about using either one or two, one of two programs. One is Hello Sign, which is a Dropbox program that Tim had found, and we all tried that just to do a demo run on it. The other option is DocuSign, which is a well-known, well-established company. And I subscribed for a month for it just to see how it worked because I might have some other things that I might use it for. Both of them work fairly well, or they do work well. I shouldn't even say fairly well. I like DocuSign a little bit better only because of its sort of the leader in the field. It's more expensive. It's $40 a month. But we're only going to use it for a short period of time. I was thinking that it potentially could be, 2 or 3 months max. The other application is, I want to say, is it $13 or $15?
15 a month if you pay monthly, so 15.
Yeah. So both of them can be canceled at any time. So that, our commitment there is, negligible. My personal feeling, I like DocuSign, but I'm willing to go the cheaper route if that's what the board wants to do. They're both pretty straightforward in terms of sending out. What you do is you have a document, you scan it in, you upload it as a PDF. In DocuSign, you drag over a tab, assign a name to the tab, or the tag, I should say. You get all the people that are necessary to sign it. And then you email them, and they all individually sign at their own leisure. We had 4 people: Kim, myself, Tim, and Allie all signed both documents by both DocuSign and Hello Sign. So it's pretty straightforward. It's an easy way to get things done in terms of if we're going to be signing warrants, if we're going to be signing contracts, and that kind of thing.
What would the objection be to let Tim do it as was suggested in the agenda? Since this should hopefully be temporary.
You want the warrant? So he's going to be signing everybody's name to the warrant, I guess.
Well, what in the agenda we said to authorize Tim to sign in behalf of the board. Does that mean he'll sign his name in behalf of all of us? Or is the implication?
It was
Tim,
more. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say it was kind of like two different topics. Initially, it was going to be just for me to sign, but then as I was putting it together, this letter together, after it was posted, I realized that the document signing or the electronic signature might be the better option. So I kind of just combined the two of them. So if we go with the
I
electronic,
think the document signature thing where everybody's
Right.
signing, you get an email, you click on the email, you open it up, you find your name. You can create your own signature if you want to use your own, you just, you handwrite it and scan it in, upload it. It would be in the file, or you can use one of the like a template kind of signature that sort of mimics or in a font that you like your signature. It's an acknowledgement. I know that DocuSign, I actually did a little research on it today. Their documents have been held up in court in terms of the legality of it. HelloSign is relatively new. I'm not so sure that is the case there. I wasn't able to find a lot of information on that. According to the, hold on a second, I have it here. Let me find my desktop. It is legal to sign that way. I have a, okay, I can't find it here. I thought I had it on my desktop. It's a federal regulation that allows you to use that type of signature as a way to sign documents. It's used all the time in real estate transactions now, from what I understand. I can't get my screen back up, so I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay.
So-
If I can make a suggestion, maybe, George, for everyone, how about if we let Tim
Yep, there we go.
put our name to things such as the warrants? Because, we come in, we sign the warrant off. We're not generally scanning down the warrants. At least I'm not, meticulously. And so I don't have a problem with Tim signing my name to the warrants. I'm wondering if maybe some more official documents such as contracts and so forth should be done electronically. That way, there's no question about it. As David said, it's considered a legal way of doing things. I've done it myself a number of times. So maybe that's what we can do.
That was actually exactly what I was thinking when I was writing.
Yeah, we actually have a contract that we're going to be signing for the police station consoles. And it's not only going to be the 3 selectmen, it's going to be Kim, and it's going to be town council and the company countersigning it. So all of those you want to have, in the loop, so to speak.
A little bit more. They're a little bit more official. So I don't know if anyone else has any suggestions for what kind of documents.
No, I agree. I think the warrants can be signed by Tim or anything else that doesn't necessarily need formal signature from us. Even the races, they don't really need a formal signature from us. So I would say things like that, but contracts certainly should have our name on them. So if anybody wants to make that as a motion, that'd be great.
No,
I'll make the
no, go ahead, Charlie.
All right, I'll make the motion that we allow Tim to sign warrants and routine correspondence in routine business, but contracts and legal documents should be unisigned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Grunwald,
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan,
Aye.
and myself, yes.
Just before we continue, I just have a question. By warrants, you mean like the weekly bill warrants, not like the town meeting warrants, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, the town meeting warrant, you absolutely couldn't do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Tim, I love you, but no.
All right.
You have the keys to the kingdom there.
All right, so next up on the agenda, we have spending plan for Council on Aging FY20 earmark grants. We were supposed to have Ms. Tisdale on the line, but it doesn't look like she's here.
Okay, you want to go to the next thing and then we'll come back to that?
David, are you ready for this one, or would you like?
It's pretty straightforward. We have 2 grants that we got. This is one of the 2 grants. They're asking, it was for $20,000 through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Elder Affairs. They're proposing to use the $20,000, windows $12,500, labor $3,500, and then kitchen improvements $4,000. And the copy of the law that authorizes this is attached, and you can see where it says further provided further that not less than $20,000 shall be extended for facility improvements and equipment upgrades at the Freetown Council on Aging. So they have the authorization. They're looking to use that money for that purpose. There's one other one, which I was hoping I was going to get something in writing from them, which is the $25,000 allocation that had come through later in the season, and get a clarification from them, but they regarding how they're going to use that $25,000. I suspect that they're going to use that for the refrigeration unit, but I can't attest to that because I don't have anything in writing.
So have these grants already been awarded, or are these?
Yeah, they're there. The money's there.
The money's there, okay.
We just got to approve this spending plan and let them fly.
When do they need this improvement, this signature on? When do they need this by?
Well, this one here, the 20,000, she was concerned about it because it said June 30th, but I don't think that anybody's going to be holding anybody to a deadline of June 30th at this point. But
So, you know this and I know this, David and I have been going back and forth, with, Pomeroy and Andy, about what the final cost might be for, for the, Council on Aging building. And I was gonna,
But Jeanette just arrived, so I'm gonna
Okay.
invite her to the meeting.
okay, so let me just finish my thought process. I was gonna say, maybe hold that meeting first to see where we're gonna be or not gonna be before the windows and the kitchen improvements, because I'm not sure.
All right.
What do you think?
I wanted, Jeanette's here. I don't know if she wants to add something to that, or, this is money that I don't know what the kitchen improvements, what they entail. The windows and the installation of the windows, yes. The kitchen improvements, if it's just changing out cabinets, that's not going to directly impact the building unless you're going to reconfigure the building to have that not be the kitchen anymore. The other $25,000, which I once again, I'm not sure specifically if that's for the refrigeration unit, that would be something that Jeanette can address, not I. If that would be a big change.
Hi, Jeanette.
Oh, no audio. Hello?
Looks like it's connected.
Jeanette?
She might want to dial in. Oh, you can't communicate to her either, can you?
Looks like she has her phone on, so just give her a moment.
Yeah, the refrigeration unit would be a problem, only because if you are putting addition on, you're not sure whether do you want to spend that money now to not know if it's going to be there in the future.
Right. I mean, there are things to consider. I mean, it's their money and I mean, that's their spending plan. I would hate to have them do all this work and then we upgrade the building and bring it to code and everything, so.
Yeah.
Is Jeanette there?
She's there. She's. I don't think she can.
Audio issues.
The only thing I'd like to say is the addition that they're requesting should not affect anything that's already there. So if whatever they do to the kitchen, that shouldn't be impacted by the addition. That makes any difference.
No, that makes sense. I don't see the kitchen moving from where it is. I'm just.
I'm sorry.
If windows, for example, what if we were, part of that money were to
Good
use
point.
for upgrades to the windows?
Yeah, you don't want to spend it on the front because if you're expanding the front, you don't want to put new windows in and take them out.
Yeah.
That's a good point. The other thing about the refrigeration unit was that it was going to be on the side of the building. We originally had proposed to put it in the front, but the last discussions I had with Andy regarding the placement, because I was always concerned about it being in the front of the building because I thought it would be a little bit of an eyesore. The discussion was about putting it on the side. The biggest problem with that is the cut that you got to make into the foundation on the side, and the fact that the propane line runs somewhere over there, and we're going to have to move that. And what was the other thing? There was 3 things about putting it on the side. It might make it a little bit more difficult, but it still can be done. I don't. Is there anyone? Can Jeanette hear us? I guess, or I feel like.
Can you wave?
Oh,
Okay.
she's hearing us. Can you give her? Can you give her the dial-in number and she can talk?
She should have it, but I can send her another message real quick.
I don't mean to be talking for you, Jeanette. Just so you know that. That's how I always get in trouble, One of the ways.
I mean, it doesn't matter. We can still approve it, but they may want to reconfigure how they allocate the money. They may want to not do the 12.5 on windows and put it into something else in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you just like say the number and maybe she can write it down and dial in?
I could, but that would publicize it for everyone.
Oh, good point. Yeah. Oops. Oh, that technology.
So I just sent Jeanette an email, so I don't know if we want to continue on and then return to this, or
Good idea, Tim.
is that what you want to do, Lisa?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, next is the town administrator's report.
Okay, not much. One thing is I'm gonna have a department head meeting on Thursday. Just basically, once again, to go over, issues that people are having relative to the current situation. And we always do like a roundtable discussion where if people have issues they want to talk about between themselves regarding operations, they have the opportunity to do that.
Are you doing that? Oh, sorry. Are you doing this on video like this?
Yeah, it's a Zoom call. Yep.
Okay.
I do all of them on the Zoom, actually, at this point. I did have a discussion today with Tracy Coster, who's from Ransom Consulting, relative to the Freetown Screw property. I also have Brian Miller, who's on the Freetown Housing Authority, and Niles, who's our planning technician, on the call. We had a lengthy discussion about the parcel that is owned by the town of Acushnet, and the viability of accepting that parcel, and not only the viability, but the liability, which is probably a bigger issue. Understanding now what is, the potential. I don't know if a developer would, number one, we would have to take the property in order to sell it. So we'd have to take the property, and it would require an act of the legislature. The question then becomes, and I've raised all of this before, if we ended up building a senior center there, there's a probability that Freetown residents would now be living in the town of Acushnet if the building was located on the Acushnet parcel, unless we voted to expand our border to incorporate that parcel into the town of Freetown. There is real concern about what's on site, its proximity to the swale and to the lagoon, both of which are issues. We did discuss some potential optional uses for the property that would basically, or may, the key here at this point is not having the town have to repay that $465,000 that when you accepted that grant from Mass Development, you assumed an obligation to not hold on to the property, that you were going to divest of it. And the proposal at the time was to develop 60 plus units of affordable senior housing and 3,000 square feet of commercial space. You can't do that with just the Freetown parcel. And accepting the Acushnet parcel, I would have real strong reservations against that. And I'm not so sure that a developer, one of the things you'd have to do is you'd have to put the whole project, no matter what you do with the parcel, you got to divest yourself of it at some point. You're going to have to put an RFP out. If you did the RFP, you'd have to have all of that Acushnet part done before you could even entertain the idea of the RFP and putting it out for a senior project. The optics of building a senior project on a potentially contaminated, I'm not saying it's contaminated because there's still testing that has to be done, but there's still the potential that you might need some cleanup on that site. I'm not so sure that we want to do that. So it then defaults to, all right, how can we use the existing site? And the existing site is relatively small. It could be used for, we could propose to Mass Development that we sell it off as a commercial piece of land that somebody could develop. We could talk to CERTA about the potential of using that parcel or selling that parcel to them to expand the turnaround. And then any other potential use that somebody would be willing to bid on. The end product would be that we'd be relieved of our legal liability. Right now, we have limited liability under 21E. If we don't divest ourselves of that parcel of land, that liability is going to fall back on the town of Freetown on both the parcels. Well, if we accept that other parcel, let's put it that way. So my thing would be that let's look at alternative uses for the parcel. And I've talked to Brian in terms of saying, well, what other parcels in town are there that we could potentially develop as a senior housing project by the Freetown Housing Authority. I'm not sure where those parcels are and how we go about doing that. But at this point, I think the bigger obligation is we don't want to pay that $465,000 back.
I agree.
Anybody else? Or so I'm going to talk to Mary Ellen DeFrayis at Mass Development probably tomorrow or the next day, and just throw some ideas out at her. We're still going to have to do an RFP to get rid of the property, the Freetown parcel. In a cushion, that'll just stay there forever. It's in tax title. We have an option on it, but we don't have to exercise that option. And then once it's sold and it's somebody else's property, they own it. The money goes back to Mass Development, and we can just sort of wipe the slate clean.
Anybody have any input, questions, concerns?
I'll just make my comment. I think if we can come up with maybe some other alternative for the property other than what had originally been planned, that probably would be the way to go. Doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
George, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. All right. Anything else, David?
No. Oh yeah, one more thing. We've had a number of boards and committees express an interest in wanting to have their meetings held the way we're holding this meeting. And the challenge has been that we were initially encouraging them to use the free trial of Zoom. A couple things. One is that Zoom is not offering that free trial anymore, or on a limited basis where they limit the meeting to 40 minutes. The other option would be for us to spring for licenses for all of the potential boards and committees that want to hold remote meetings. I have had some discussions with a gentleman, Mitch Siegel from GoToMeeting. I received, I want to say I received it from MMA, but there's now a 90-day free trial for GoToMeeting. I talked to him today. No financial obligations for 90 days, and that might be all we would need. But they're willing to give us 10 accounts, which we could set up individually for the various and sundry different departments that might want to conduct their meetings remotely. I know library trustees. Who else, Tim, that expressed an interest?
The Finance Committee, Board
Yeah,
of
they're actually using Zoom. Yeah.
Water and Sewer Commissioners, Library Trustees, Parade and Fireworks.
Yeah, so we're looking at a way to get them something to, at least temporarily for the next 3 months, at least for free, allow them to use that. Now, the GoToMeeting is something that we use for the police team meetings, which Taylor has. I've never used that. The Zoom, I'm pretty comfortable with that at this point, other than being able to get the screen to blow up so I can see people. But the
David.
Yeah.
Quick question. What is the fee for using Zoom? I mean,
we bought a yearly subscription on that.
Yep, it worked out to be about $130, $140, somewhere around there for the full year.
Yeah, now we'd have to buy additional licenses.
No, why do we need more than one license if we're only one board uses it at a time?
They look at it as a user. They don't look at it as a license. So each user is a separate account.
So for this meeting here, we have 4 users here. Is that what you're saying?
No.
No,
Basically, I'm the only one with that's actually using the paid account. For other committees to share this one account amongst all committees in town, it's actually a violation of the terms and service. But if we also ran to, like, for example, we started at 4 o'clock, Conservation Commission also had a meeting at 4 o'clock. I don't think they did it online. I think they did it actually outside of the town hall. But if, you know, we wanted to meet in the finance committee, we're going to meet, we'd run into a scheduling problem. You can only use the account once at a time.
So if we
you
bought,
do that.
if we contracted 2 or even 3 accounts, we're only talking $300 a year.
No, it would be, yes, yeah, you're right, exactly.
So, I mean,
And we
you
could
know,
also do it monthly too. Doesn't have.
well,
to be-
that's what even the DocuSign, I bought it for myself, thinking, you know, even if the town didn't want to use it, I would maybe have a function for
I
it,
mean,
just to try it out for the future.
for $300, I would say buy 3 licenses for a year and just see how it goes. I mean, this is a great program. You know, in a few $100s, what's the big deal here? I mean,
Well, I was looking at the free option, but for 90 days, and the go-to-meeting is very similar to Zoom.
So
No,
my
but either-
question,
Go ahead.
would be, who's gonna set this up for them? Because, I mean, is each individual chair gonna set it up for them? Is that how that's gonna work?
That would be, because I don't think we have the capacity to set it up for everybody. It would be the same thing with Zoom. Even if we did Zoom, the good thing about Zoom is we have instructions to tell people how to set up a meeting that we've handed out for the free accounts. Now that they're not doing the free thing anymore, or they're limiting it, you know, it's pretty straightforward in terms of how we would do it. I guess it would be getting a handle on how many people are truly going to use it. And then if we do it on a monthly basis, we just, at the end of the day, we cancel it when we get to the point of where we're all going back to regular meetings.
And there's enough money in the reserve account. So I guess first I would say you need to find out how many committees are going to want to use this. And then between you and Tim, decide whether they're going to use Zoom or GoToMeeting. I mean,
Yeah, I like the idea of the 10 free accounts with Zoom, with GoToMeeting. That's should more than adequately cover our needs, and it's free. And but once again, I would, maybe Tim and I could play with it tomorrow to see how it works. I don't know if it's you know, as intuitive, I guess, whether the user interface is easy to use. That's the one thing, beauty of Zoom is it's so easy to use. It's like sort of like an Apple product. You really don't have to know a lot about it to go in and start using it. GoToMeeting, I've never set it up. I've never used it. So maybe we'll play with it and figure it out from there, I guess.
I mean, I would recommend that we, you know, subscribe to one of these. I mean, Zoom works really well. It seems to be easy. I have no idea about GoToMeeting, but if that's similar.
Competitive product. They've been around forever. They actually, they used to have a product back in the late 1990s, was Go to My PC, which basically let you go to your PC from anywhere in the world remotely, as long as it was turned on. And I used to use that all the time when I was in Carlisle, if I was out for the day or whatever on the weekends.
When this virus issue is finally over, we will not be able to use this to have meetings. Is that correct?
No.
Not in this fashion anyway, no.
Well, you'll be able to use it like you did before. If you have a majority of your members in place, then you would be able to, you know, if one of you is in North Carolina or somewhere else, then you'd still be able to use that function.
And it would also be beneficial to maybe keep this around so that when we have department head meetings, I know none of you have been in on the department head meetings in David's office, but it's a little tight in there, just to say the least.
We have 13 and 14, 15 people in that little office. I mean,
Tim, that's a great point. You know, I would recommend we purchase a year subscription to one of these, whichever one you like better.
Well, we already got Zoom for a year, one account.
Okay,
We made that purchase, but the thing is that in order to give everybody else an account, you'd have to buy additional Zoom accounts, and that's where I sort of balked at it, and where it had come from MMA or from a state source that GoToMeeting was offering a free 90-day trial. That's what made me think, all right, well, maybe we can, in the short run, at least address the whole issue of having meetings online for the people the other departments that need to do that. It doesn't matter, whatever the board wants to do, I'll do.
No, I think that you and Tim should work that out between whoever else wants it, and then they would have to ask if it's GoToMeeting and it's free, it is what it is. If it's Zoom and they need the per month, whatever, and you're gonna do it for 3 months anyway, just write up a reserve fund transfer and we'll sign off on it and send it forward. Charlie, you have anything?
All right, the only thing is, I find Zoom to be easy. GoToMeeting, I've hit it, and they say my Safari on my phone, the Safari
browser
won't accept the address. So I don't know what the issue there is, but I couldn't get into the 2 police meetings just because of that. But anyways, maybe that's
the thing. The only downside to Zoom is that they when they first, before the whole crisis happened, they had said that they had an encrypted channel or encrypted tunnel where the meetings were supposed to take place. I guess that wasn't exactly true, and there was a lot of Zoom meetings that were being what they call Zoom bombed, and people were, uninvited guests were there. There was all kinds of issues. They're plugging all of those holes. They went from like 10 million subscribers to 200 million subscribers in a matter of like 30 days. So they're scrambling to get the product in a place where people feel comfortable. It's a great product, and which is why one of the reasons why they're already profitable. They're not a tech. To find a tech company that just was listed and wasn't profitable, that is profitable is very, very rare in the tech field. But,
All right, so we'll look forward to hearing from both you and Tim at our next meeting to see what goes on.
All right.
What's
That's it for me.
All right, next is actually the police station update.
Okay, so just to let everybody know, construction is going as scheduled. There are safety protocols taking place. Everybody's taking their temperature first thing in the morning. There's additional cleaning going on with the bathrooms and so everything else. The station itself is weather tight. Drywall is going up, so everything's moving along. We're still looking at a July-ish opening, and that's that. Want to go back to Jeanette?
I'm here.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I got my IT person.
Tech support.
Okay, you were discussing the 25,000.
Well, we discussed both the 20 and the 25,000.
Okay, I'll go to the 20.
Okay.
We all voted at a meeting to put the 20,000 towards the refrigerator freezer because I was told that it was acceptable by a Stacy O'Connell from the state.
Okay.
And as of now, there's been no progress on that I'm aware of.
Is that the 20 or the 25?
The 20.
All right, because the 20 says something entirely different. It says the 20 says the windows, labor, and kitchen improvements.
But we're women, most of us, and we change our minds.
Oh, all right. There you go.
All right, and we don't know anything about the 25 yet, Jeanette?
The 25, we were supposed to have a meeting on April 7th, which didn't happen. I asked David if I could do a telephone polling for the members because some of our members don't have computers. And I was told that I can't have that because of the open meeting laws. So.
It's not legal to poll the members.
Yeah. So I have a question. Would I be able to have a meeting with the board either downstairs or under the pavilion to discuss and vote on the final usage of the 25,000?
It seems as though the Conservation Commission is having a meeting outside of Town Hall. So, I mean, if you're comfortable doing so, I just want you to be really careful, all of you. But yeah, and I know that some of you don't have Zoom, but if a majority of the board does, then you possibly could use this as well.
The other thing, just to point out, is that even if you don't, like, they may not have a computer, when you get your Zoom notice, there's always a list of phone numbers underneath, and you can dial into that phone number and participate over the telephone, not over the video.
That didn't show up on my screen.
It was in the invitation. When you got your invitation, if you look below in the invitation, there's probably like 6 numbers there.
You are talking to a really dense person here.
Oh, I'm sure you'll get it. It's
The problem with
it's
phone
in
numbers
your
is some of them might
email.
be long distance.
oh, that's a good point too.
It's in your,
Well, if you're on your cell, it really probably wouldn't matter, no?
but Jeanette, it's in your email, so you can call the number when you see it in your email.
And I'm
But
being told
800 numbers or?
There wasn't
there are,
any.
but there are 800 numbers as available as an add-on, but that's significantly more expensive. I think it turns out to be like $115 a month.
Because the dial-in numbers, a couple of them out of New York, so you'd be dialing New York.
Mhm. Well, I don't know if they would participate. If they don't.
All right, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you're comfortable meeting outside, watch the weather, and it's like 3 days out and plan a nice sunny day.
Yeah, right. We will, proceed with the regular sending in of what our agenda will be to the town.
Okay.
So that it's all legal when we do have it. But now coming back to the 25,000, we were discussing the windows with that. Possibly purchase of heat mats for the back entrance. Those are a little expensive. We have to have someone measure all the steps and the deck part to see which size we would have installed. There's also cords that have to be purchased with that. We would do possibly new doors because they're really bad. We've spoken to Jeff about that a long time ago.
Yeah, we actually, one thing I just wanted to make mention of it, and I mentioned it to Jeff at the last time I saw him, was that the entryway in the front of the building, it has termites. I don't know if you know that, but it's literally the wood is rotting out.
I wasn't
They're eating
aware
it.
of it.
Yeah, all around the windowsills. I think it's something that's definitely a project or part of a building project that is definitely going to need to be addressed. It's either termites or some kind of leakage where there's serious rot, but there's a lot of rot around both the entry door and the windows.
Yeah, and the doors aren't properly fitted. We lose a lot of heat, so that's an expense of utilities. So that's what we discussed for the 25,000. I think that would bring that amount pretty close to expenditure. But
Sure.
now for the 20,000, I have no idea what the refrigerator freezer project is up to.
Yeah, I have those numbers, but I don't have them here. Yeah, I want to say we had somewhere in the 30s.
I think they're looking for a resolution as to when this project's gonna be done, and I have to concur that it has been taking a life.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you're aware, but we had some serious electrical issues in the building. We had to replace the panel. We had an electrician lined up and it fell through. Then we had heard other things about what was going on in the building, and we did upgrade the panel. I have Andy DeGamo. He is doing the spec in the contract documents for the refrigeration unit because it requires a insulated pad, and it requires certain cuts in the building that I think you really need an architectural drawing for. Last I talked to Andy, he had worked on the pad and it had been forwarded to Bruce. I know that some kind of a schematic design had been forwarded to Bruce. So we're closing in on it. But once again, you don't know in terms of the building itself, you know.
No, that's why we can help. We have 25,000 from the town presently, and we could help with I'm sure there'll be additional costs on the refrigerator freezer because that's gone up, no doubt. It's been 3 years we've been working on this.
That was another building inspector also.
Really? Yes, it was.
The one thing that I want to caution, I think Lisa brought it up earlier, was that, you know, we really have to be careful here in terms of how we use this money, because we don't want to do something and then get a new building plan developed that would end up causing us to rip everything out. You know, we replace doors or we put heating pads in on the deck and they say, oh, well, we're not going to go out of the front of the building, we're going to go out the back of the building. Now you're tearing all of that up. So
let's just take this in pieces. So Jeanette, we already know that you guys are gonna work on the $20,000 and you guys have already voted on the refrigerator freezer for that money, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so
Any
we'll
additional work that's
Yep.
involved. Too.
So we'll approve that part of it. And then you said you're still gonna meet with everybody and discuss the $25,000 as well.
Get a vote on it, yes.
Yep, so we'll wait on that 25,000. We'll just approve and vote on the $20,000. In the meantime, we're gonna set up a joint meeting between the COA, the architect, the project manager, Bruce, everybody, so we can all be on the same page and see what $500,000 is gonna get us and where we're going. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
All right, perfect. Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the $20,000 for the refrigerator freezer from the grant COA.
Motion made.
Do I have a
Right.
second?
I have a question.
Okay,
What was proposed and what the documents I saw were for $20,000 for windows, labor in the kitchen. Is that now out?
Yes.
yes.
All right. Well, so should we have the documents before us that of what we're going to approve before we actually approve them? That's my question. The 25,000 to me sounds like it's still conceptual. Is that the case, or is there actual expenditure?
So we vote on it.
So
So-
have you voted on it or have you not voted on it?
We have not voted on the 25,000. We have voted on the 20,000.
They voted on the $20,000. They're gonna have to redo those documents, and we are only approving the $20,000 for a refrigerator freezer. So we are not gonna sign off on it until it's done anyway,
All right,
okay?
fine. Okay.
All right,
All right, I'll second it on what you just, on if the motion is based on what George, is that what we're gonna do? You had the motion.
Yes.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Mr. Sullivan?
There's no
Aye,
roll call vote on that.
I am. Mr. Sullivan?
aye.
Mr. Grunwald?
Aye.
And Mrs. Pacheco, yes. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you.
thank
Tell
you.
Teddy I miss him.
I will. He misses school too.
I know. All right, take care.
Too.
All right, so
Okay.
next up on the agenda, we have the Personnel Board. And first on there is the appointment of Lisa Podolsky as Animal Control Officer and Inspector of Animals effective March 1st, 2020.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Grunwald,
Aye.
Mrs. Pacheco,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan, yes.
All
Tim,
right.
I have the other one is to appoint Robert Kavaka as health agent in, no?
It's actually Veterans Agent Director and
Oh, pardon me.
Veterans Officer.
Yes, pardon me, health agent. All right, pardon me. I said I had it in front of me.
Cowboy.
I had it in front of me by abbreviated, and I don't know, I still had a brain fart. All right, so the item before us is appointing Robert Kavaka as Veterans Agent and Director,
So moved.
effective May 1.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Grunwald,
Aye.
Mrs. Pacheco,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan, yes. All right, that's the end of the Personnel Board.
All right, so next up we have old business, which is a new old section on the agenda. First is the 2020 special and annual town meeting. We actually already discussed that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have Tim go over all the old business, and if we have anything to add, we can. So go ahead, Tim, you can continue.
Okay, like I said, we already discussed the 2020 special and annual town meeting. We're going to put that on the next agenda to actually schedule those. Next, we have the application for Class 2 motor vehicle dealer's license submitted by Copart Incorporated. I sent a correspondence over to their lawyers, telling them, what the board decided, that we can't really have a public hearing until we're all together. They said that was fine, no problem.
Do we get a confirmation in writing back from them?
Yes, yep, I did.
Okay.
And it's should be in the packet there as well.
Oh, all right.
And then finally, we have the 2 road races that the boards
all right.
the other day, Clarkey's Memorial Enduro and Patriot Half Triathlon. Clarkey's Memorial Enduro, the gentleman, Rafi Peterson, he said that that's not a problem, that they're not going to pick a new date at this time. They're looking at probably postponing indefinitely. And on the Patriot Half Triathlon, the gentleman there, Sun Multisports, Mark Walters, he said that they're going to make a final decision on which date they're going to choose a little bit closer to, but they're hoping to still have it in June, but in September if possible, or if necessary.
So do you want to take Clarkey's off then?
I can.
Okay. And can you just add on their COA edition discussion meeting?
Okay.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
I do. There was a letter sent from Jody McCarty about she originally informed us of the situation with Old Colony. And she had sent an email asking if we could follow up at all. And so my suggestion would be just that we send her an email or letter, snail mail, whichever way. I think we do have her email. Tim, is that true?
Charlie, I actually corresponded with her several times today.
Okay.
I want to say I talked to her also.
All right, just wanted to make sure that there was follow through on that.
Yep.
Just, we not much we can actually tell her, but just
No,
tell her.
I just told her the situation that we're in, that it was no fault of ours, and that we're having a meeting tomorrow and anticipate some answers after that meeting. So she'll just be waiting to hear.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we follow
Yeah,
up.
it was. I actually emailed her twice myself.
Okay.
Anything else? George, do you have anything?
No, that's it.
Okay, just, you want to make sure that the transfer station's on for the next meeting. That's correct, right?
That is correct.
Okay, perfect. All right. Just remember, we have a meeting tomorrow at 5. I think Ally sent everybody documents regarding some of the Old Colony information that she found out. And I will see everybody there tomorrow. The only thing I'm going to ask, I think there's going to be a lot of people on this, not just us, but Old Colony, and then the regional, Mr. Medeiros, and then some of the regional school committee members. So I think it's so easy for us because it's only us. But when we have a meeting tomorrow, maybe if somebody just raise their hand, so then that way we'll let that person speak at a time.
Okay. All right. I just have one question, because I only see myself down in the little corner and whoever is speaking in the big screen. Is that the case with everyone?
There
Yes.
should be an option somewhere on the screen. You might have to tap it to bring up the toolbars, but there should be something that says gallery view.
Yeah, that's what I'm in right now,
Up
actually.
on the
All right.
right-hand side, Charlie, see it?
To the side.
The right-hand side at the top. There's
Wait a
like
minute.
little.
All
looks like
right,
a
in the
grid.
shared, oh, okay, switch to gallery view.
Yep.
All right.
that's it.
Gotcha.
I don't see that. Where do you see that?
On
Hit
the
the
right-hand
top,
side of the screen.
Top?
hit the top first. I'll do it, George. George and I.
And then it has a list of participants too. If you click that link in the
If you hit
bottom.
the top of your screen, George,
Yeah.
a toolbar will come up on the top of the screen and then on to the left of the screen.
Ah,
And
there
then
it
you see, it's two icons there, the bottom icon. All right,
We'll get this down right someday.
yeah, we'll be geniuses by the end
Probably
of
the
it.
very last meeting. We'll figure all.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, everybody, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good thing because my lights are flickering and I'm going to lose power.
Mine
All
blinked
right.
a couple times too. So
All right. Take care,
All right.
everybody. Be
Bye.
safe.
Yeah.
everyone, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jeanette.
Bye, Jeanette.